Before the interruption, we had said that when you are writing your background, when you are writing your background, make sure you bring out at least these 5 paragraphs. And these are the ones I was trying to explain that this is what you should write about. Matovu, can you mute yourself? Yes, keep yourself mute. We know the network is not good, but keep yourself mute. And where possible, don't put on your camera, so that we reduce the burden on the network. So I had said that the first paragraph of your background to the problem, you should give us a brief history of your DV by telling us how the situation has been in the past. By telling us how the situation has been in the past. And for you to do this, you tell us whether the situation has been good or poor, high or low, depending on the situation. And we said for you to be able to bring out a picture on how the situation has been in the past, whether good or poor, look for some historical facts about your DV in the existing literature. Get any reports, for example, research reports on your DV, government reports, or previous newspapers, and make sure that you give them a source. You tell us the source of your facts. So when you read these ones, they can tell you how the situation has been in the past, whether the situation has been so bad. So you are building a background, and it is this that gives you information that you can be able to know how the situation has been in the past. Remember, we said the background, you tell us how the situation, how the problem came about. For you to tell us how the problem came about, you should be able to tell us some historical facts. So these historical facts are the ones you bring, but these facts must be about your DV. Where do you get them? You do some readings and you write this paragraph successfully. If you have a lot of words, you can write more than a paragraph, but preferably a paragraph may be enough. A paragraph can be a quarter page. So that is aspect number 1 in your background. Then aspect number 2 in your background is the one I want us to talk about now. If you have told us how the situation has been in the past, somebody said our problem was poor waste management practices. Now, you need to talk about how people have been managing their wastes in homes and in schools, in other institutions. At least any report that shows whether there are good practices or no practices in the past, how the situation has been. If you can be able to tell us that, then the next paragraph, you are going to define your variables. Here, you should write 2 paragraphs. Write 2 paragraphs. I'm going slowly so that some people can pick me. 1 paragraph on the what? Defining the IV. So in the first paragraph, let me call it A. Define your IV. Define your IV. And you do this by giving 1 standard definition. Do this by giving 1 standard definition from a standard textbook. I'm emphasizing textbook. You don't go to Wikipedia or Google and you get that. We need to get it from a standard textbook. Even though that textbook may be online, make sure you put a source of reference in the of that book. You put a reference. Give a reference of your definition. Give a reference. Make sure you give a reference. Remember, in the conceptual phase, we have already taught you how to define a variable. So when you give 1 standard definition, you go ahead and show the elements or the aspects of your IV. The elements are the specific measures. So you can also say, oh, the specific measures or indicators of your IV. When, for example, somebody is talking about waste management practices, and you define waste management practices as those practices, people, for example, in which people collect, transport, and dispose of their wastes or the wastes they accumulate at home. You may find out that the measures or the indicators are the different sub-aspects of all the different practices. For example, we may say that waste management practices may include, according to a given author, may include, you can all tell us, for example, how do you manage your wastes? For example, you can say collection, transportation, disposal. Disposal may also include recycling, etc. These may be the indicators or the measures of the variable waste management practices. Where do you get them? You still get them from textbooks. Now, finally, you tell us the elements of your IV, which your study is going to examine or to investigate, which your study is going to examine. You tell us that. Yes, there are different elements. There could be different elements of your IV, but your study may not examine all of them. For example, you may say that the waste management practices to consider in this case include, or this study will consider 3 major practices. Consider these or 3 major waste management practices, which include, you mention them: waste collection, how people collect their wastes, waste collection, transportation, and disposal. Later, when we come to literature, you are going to expand these ones, the 3 you have said you are going to. So when you go to the field to collect data, these are the ones you are going to collect data about. Now, when you finish this, that is on the side of IV. If your study has 2 variables, then you are going to do the same for the DV. Do the same for your DV. So what the explanation we have given on IV should be the explanation you follow to define your DV. That is done. That section, point number 2, is also completed. Then you got point number 3. Remember I said your background should have at least 3, 4, or 5 things, important points you are going to bring about. We have talked about 2. Now I'm going to talk about the 3rd one. 3, although the 3rd one seems to be the DV, the definition of the DV, I will request if you have a question, you type it in the chat. I see Matovu, you are putting up your hand. If you really have something to say, you unmute and say it. But because of time, others who have questions, you can type them in the chat. I can always go there and answer them here. Matovu, if you have the issue, unmute and you talk.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Mr. Chibuka.
Alaikum salam warahmatullah.
So there you have said that in case your research has a DV, you also do the same. Yes. So can we have a research where you only talk about IV?
Okay, that is a good question. I'm going to answer, unless there is another question you have. Okay, if there is no other question, remember we said when we were formulating the title that your study may have one variable or two variables. If your study has one variable, that variable is the DV. Even though you may not talk about it so much as DV, but that is your DV. So this procedure I have talked about, you will follow it. If you have two variables, we have to differentiate between the two variables. One is the IV, the other one is the DV. But if you have one variable, you will follow the same steps here to define that variable. But just to put it in mind that if a study has one variable, that variable is the DV. Remember, we said the DV is the problem. Is the problem you are investigating upon. So a researcher may be interested in understanding the problem and its cause. So if you want to know why a problem happens, then you will go to the IV, which is the cause. You can always go back and revise your conceptual phase. You will understand it better that any research study begins with the problem, not with the cause, because the cause is understood as causing the problem. Thank you. I want to go to the third aspect. Before I go there, I still request members who did not register their attendance to type in the chat their name, because we are recording those who have attended this class. Type there and we capture your attendance. People will not deceive us that they attended when they have not. Yes, we have received a fan, your attendance. I want to go to the last aspect or last paragraph of your background. I'm calling it the last because so far I said when you are defining, you can have two paragraphs, one paragraph for IV, one paragraph for DV. So those will be 4 paragraphs. I mean 3 paragraphs so far. Then the last paragraph, in the last paragraph, we are going back here. I'm going to back to copy whatever I said in the historical perspective and I edit it to show you that what we said in the historical perspective or in the first paragraph is also the one we give in the last paragraph, but we change. Here, in the last paragraph, you tell us how the situation about your DV is now. So I said, tell us how the situation about your DV or your study problem is now. Is now only in your study, location. In your study location or your study context. In other words, you are telling us how the situation is now. How is the situation? For you to do this, you are telling us how the situation is now. How the situation is now. That is to say, for you to do this, i.e., for you to do this, tell us whether the situation now, or the current situation is good or poor, high or low, currently. And for you to do this, to bring out this picture, because we want to tell us the situation, how it is now, we said, look for some, now this time you are going to look for some current facts. Look for some current facts about your DV or your study problem by reading current research reports, journal articles, current newspapers, government reports, etc. Government reports, etc. Government reports, etc. Government reports, etc. on your DV. So the reports on your DV, you read current information. When you want to get to know what is happening currently, what is the situation now, you read these ones. So this will give you a picture on how the situation is now. We gave an example that you are going to tell us, how do people manage their wastes now? So you are asking yourself a question. Are there reports on how people at the homes manage their wastes? The wastes they accumulate? This question is yours. Because you are the researcher, have you found any reports? If yes, what do they say? If yes, what do they say? You are telling us, if yes, those reports are there, what do they say? For example, do they show that there is a good waste management practices? It is you, after reading, you will tell us this. You will report. Do they show that there is good waste management practices? If say you report with those facts and you give the sources of evidence of where you get that. So in brief, this is how you tell us the current situation. And when you do this, you have to write a good, you have written a good background to your study. A good background should involve facts about your study problem that gives somebody a picture on how the situation was and how the situation is now. Remember, it is these facts which convince the reader that there is a need for conducting a study to find out a solution to this problem. So, like when you read these reports, because when those reports are not there, you also tell us that the current evidences on waste management practices do not exist, or there are no current reports. How do you know that they are there or they are not there? We said you read researches on your topic, on your study problem. That is why we said each of you should select a research problem in your area of specialization. Why? Because we know that you have access to the books in that area. Now, when I'm talking about waste management, because this is not your area, you even wonder where can you get reports. But you can also even ask Mr. Google. When you ask Mr. Google, for example, you can ask Mr. Google, for example, on current situation about your study problem. Mr. Google will bring you by chance the available reports. At least as you search, you get a picture. You will not get everything, of course, because some reports exist, but they have not been recorded in Google. But at least Google will give you a picture of what is currently existing. Somebody is saying that they are off topic. I don't know, but I know we all have network issues. Although now it looked like it was trying to stabilize. I want to say that we have concluded the background, unless you have any question. If you have any question, you can ask it. If you don't have, I want to go to the next sub-section. Let me wait for 1 minute for people to give me the questions they could be having.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum. So I have a question, Mr. Chiwoka.
Yes.
The question is all about the procedures there that we have to research by reading current research reports. Yeah, I had that. Yes, I had a question there, but you have enlightened it more. But my question is, what if you are deceiving that there is no research about it? So you can do it just to go through, just to make it easy. But what if there are other facts?
If you try to deceive us, we shall know that you are deceiving. That is one thing. It will now depend on your lecturer, your supervisor. If your supervisor allows you to tell lies, you will go. Although we encourage you that in research, we have to be ethical And ethical means you don't tell lies, because at one time, one day, even if it is not today, it will come back to you. You may be in a big position and people find out what you have written.
Dr. Chibuka, you are not stable. The network is a bit down.
You cannot see the what? Come again, you cannot see what?
Hello?
Sorry, you said you cannot see what?
Dr. Chibuka, you're not clear.